Hi, I'm Ruth Kenner from I Quilt and More, and welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to talk more about organization. I've already talked about it, but I'm going to talk about what I call how I organize my brain, which is kind of like how I organize my time and what I think about. Not that I'm not saying that organization isn't important, physical organization, it's very important. Who wants to spend a lot of time looking for things? I surely don't. But this is different. And I started thinking about this many years ago. And I wanted to figure out the quagmire that I was in. When my kids were little and I ran a business from the home, I managed to get a lot of things done. I got art quilts done. I made quilts for my family. I knitted on a loom and I made lots of scarves. And I look forward to the day when my kids are bigger and I'll be able to get more done. And the same thing happened years ago. I was very seriously sick and I didn't have a lot of strength and I had take a lot of breaks. And whenever I had a chance and I felt better, I sat down and sewed just like I did before. And I got a lot done. And as time went on and I got better, thankfully, I realized that I was procrastinating a lot more and I had a hard time going from place to place and I wasn't getting things done. So I decided to change how I approached things, and I went online and I read some books and some essays, and I started realizing that I have to see myself as a project manager. So I started reading more about it, my own personal project manager. Now that didn't mean that I had to go back to college and study this in that way. Because I'm not going to look for a job. I just wanted to do a better job at running my life. And I read quite a few things, and it's changed everything. And I would recommend everybody do that. But one of the things that I did find out is an approach called the Zeigarnik Effect. And that's what I'm going to show you how I worked. Now, there's a lot of things I can glean from the Zeigarnik Effect. Okay, there's a lot of things I can glean from the Zeigarnik Effect. And I'm going to have you looking right here at that because this is a heavily quilted quilt that I did quite a while. I haven't yet finished, as you can see, and I'll explain more about it. But the Zeigarnik Effect is named after the Russian psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, and I might be killing the pronunciation. She found in 1927 that waiters remembered orders until they served them up and closed them up. So they could juggle quite a bit in their short-term memory, and they would instantly forget things. Now, it took a lot of practice, but they got a lot done, and they were able to do things. So she did a lot of research on her students to try to figure out what was going on. And she found out a lot of things, and I could talk a lot about it, probably will in other aspects. But what I gleaned from this, just for our conversation today, is how could I get as much done as when my kids were little, or much more, because I'm not being interrupted. So in short, for today, if we have unfinished tasks, we could remember them and we can go into it. So that meant that when I was stopping things unexpectedly because my kids needed immediate attention, I would be able to sit down and continue, even if it was a few days or if it was the same day. And I wanted that same effect while my kids are bigger, and I could, of course, can get a lot more done. So if you look at the way I decided to set up my time, what I used to do the minute my kids got bigger and I got better, is I would take a portion like this, and of course I haven't finished this, these will be covered up with threads, quilted on, but I would take a section like this, I would practice it on a side kick, and now I actually don't have a side bunch of other pieces. I actually have a quilt that I'm going to finish that I practiced on because I don't need it. But I would have to take it apart. And a quilt like this, I probably, if I ever wanted a long arm sewing machine, I would get a sit down model because I don't want it on I like to lay out my quilts and look at them to see how I'm doing every once in a while. So I would take a section like this and then go to the next section. I would finish here and then I would lay it out between each section and then I would go on. And I literally stopped doing that. The big difference on how I work now is I do a section like this right here and then I stop. If I have enough time to do all of this, I make sure I jump over to this section and do it. And then I can continue on. And it's amazing. I used to have to practice between each stitch. But each time when I'm quilting, now I don't, because it's still right there. It's as if I never left, and I continue on and I think about it. I remember it. I tend to procrastinate. Not even a lot less, not at all. I sit right down and get to the project. I also lay out my quilt to make sure that it's going the way the way I want it to. Not when I finish the section. I lay it out on the bed, on my queen size bed upstairs. I literally lay it out when I'm done. Let's say I'm like right here in the middle here, and I lay it out. I also would do a section and part of a section and go there when I needed to. If I thought, wow, I'm going to finish this whole section and I don't want to, I would stop and finish part of this section. So when I sat down the next time, I would go right into it. This changed everything. It changed the way I did these. I would literally did a piece by piece and made sure that I ate right here, and then I would continue on. It made such a difference the way I stop and start. And it's not only for quilting, it's the way I do blocks. I make sure that I don't finish a block if I still have more to do. I finish something else. If I'm going to have to, I start a different block, so I have 2 unfinished blocks. And then I go on. And I use it when I draw. I use it when I crochet. It has changed how I work, and it is counterintuitive, but it works. And I enjoy the process a lot more, and I think about it more in between. It crosses my mind and remember what I'm doing. So I could just say that thank you, Bluma Zeigarnik. Okay. She passed away I believe in 1988. And whatever she discovered has really changed my life. And I encourage all of us to look into it. And I'm going to look into it every once in a while to read more about it so I can learn more. And hopefully we can get more done that way and enjoy the process. All right. Thank you. Signing off.